Hooray for another weekend, Clippers! As usual, we are here again for another round of our weekly recap. Once more, we will review the news that made this week's headlines. Yet, before we start our recap, pause for a while and give us a like on our social media sites. Follow us too and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Who doesn't want regular updates on what's happening in the Philippines? Anyway, we won't keep you any longer. Let's now start this week's Trending Clips. This is probably the biggest story of this week. Finally, after around 2 years of dilly-dallying, President Rodrigo Duterte signed the executive order that would ban the much-contested practice of labor contractualization. Just as members of militant labor groups were converging on the streets on May 1st, Duterte signed Executive Order No. 51 Series of 2018. The said executive order would allegedly ban the practice of hiring workers on a contractual basis. The executive order was signed in Cebu City, where Duterte chose to celebrate Labor Day. In his speech prior to the signing of the executive order, Duterte said he deliberately delayed the signing of the order so he could do it in front of the public. It can be recalled that the eradication of contractual labor was one of the promises Duterte made when he was campaigning for the presidency. This abolition of labor contracting was the battle cry of the protest staged during the Labor Day commemoration. Although Duterte signed the order on Labor Day, militant labor groups were not happy with the contents of the executive order. They said the executive order did not completely ban the practice of subcontracting, which was a key factor in the proliferation of fixed-term hiring practices. However, Duterte said only the Philippine Congress could make a lasting amendment to the labor code that would completely ban labor contractualization. Speaking of employment, here is something that will probably make some Filipinos smile. According to a report published by the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Department of Budget and Management or DBM approved the opening of new teaching positions all over the country. How many positions were created? Hold on to your seats because the DBM approved the creation of more than 75,000 teaching positions around the country. Actually, the DBM approved 75,242 positions. Majority of these teaching positions would be opened in the kindergarten and elementary level. Wow, such an action came after the Social Weather Stations or SWS released a study that said around 10 million adult Filipinos were suffering from joblessness. According to the said SWS survey, these jobless adult Pinoys either left their job on their own volition, left their job because of reasons outside their control, or were searching for jobs for the first time. Guess what? Malacanang Palace responded, saying that the survey was conducted at the time when there were more fresh graduates from college, so it was deemed normal to have a large number of unemployed guys. Since we've been mentioning Malacanang from the start of our recap, why don't we talk about politics? The Pulse Asia survey conducted on mid-March 2018 was released recently. One of the findings was few Filipinos were in favor of charter change. What did it mean? It meant President Duterte's pet reform, the transition to federalism, was still unpopular for the majority of Filipinos. In fact, if we would do a bit of math on the survey results, an overwhelming majority of Filipinos did not favor the amendment of the Constitution. 64%! That was big enough. According to Pulse Asia, only 1 out of 4 Filipinos were in favor of charter change. Charter change is the process by which the country's constitution would be amended to allow a new system of government to prevail. Only 49% of Filipinos claimed awareness on the 1987 Philippine Constitution. This is the constitution that the Duterte administration seeks to change so the country can shift to federalism. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roques responded by saying that the government would intensify its information campaigns regarding charter change and the proposed shift to federalism. Let's go and talk about some good news on economy. Economic and banking giants gathered in Manila on May 2 for the 51st annual meeting of the Asian Development Bank or ADB governors. The ADB official website said this was the 16th annual meeting held here in the Philippines. The last annual meeting held in the Philippines was in 2012. What was the annual ADB governors meeting? What was it all about? There were seminars and discussions during the annual meeting. The key topics that were discussed were, first, effect of modern technology on employment, Second, the phenomenon of gender gap in terms of economic empowerment. Third, the role of private sector in meeting Asia's infrastructure needs. Fourth, adoption of new technologies in finance. Fifth, climate change and disaster risk management. And lastly, promotion of inclusive growth through regional cooperation. Even ordinary Filipinos who were not attending the annual governors meeting felt some changes in their daily routines. Guess why and how? Some roads leading to the ADB headquarters in Manila were closed to maintain peace and order during the conduct of the meeting. We're on our last news, so let's have one that will make us feel good. Can you think of another way to enjoy your summer? We're probably thinking the same thing. Let's have a food trip. A lifestyle feature from the Philippine Daily Inquirer recommended the rural kitchen of Liliw in Laguna. Don't be deceived. This resto is not located in the idyllic town of Liliw in Laguna. It's right there in Makati. From the name itself, Rural Kitchen offers classic Filipino dishes served with finesse a la gourmet restaurant. Do you want to have a mouth-watering teaser of what Rural Kitchen offers? Rural Kitchen serves the classic kare-kare, which is oxtail simmered in curry soup. There's also laing na kuhol, a certain kind of edible snail cooked in coconut milk. Plus, there's the favorite staple, sinigang na isda sa miso or fish boiled in sour soup. For dessert, you can have suman or rice cake sticks dipped in thick chocolate. Wow! Indeed, Rural Kitchen deserves all the praises from foodies. One comment posted on Rural Kitchen's Facebook page said, quote, "One of the best meals I have eaten in the Philippines. All the dishes we tried were awesome, very tasty, and definitely coming back soon." End quote. Oh well, sorry to cut you short, but here ends this week's recap. We know you want more. Don't worry, you can still have us even on weekdays. Just like and follow us on our social media sites. Subscribe to on our YouTube channel. Until next week, we'll meet each other again for another round of Trending Klipps.